My name is Okikiola Taiwo Jalukmo, and I fondly call myself the polyhumanitarian. In a world where politics is now linked to dirty jobs and all the things that are wrong, I believe that humanity is what brings the balance, and that's why I call myself the polyhumanitarian. I'm not just part of the conversation on Nigerian politics, I am reshaping it. As a public speaker, gender advocate, politician, and TV personality, I represent a generation that refuses to be silenced or sidelined. We are no longer content with watching from the margins while recycled leadership fails us over and over again. I stand for youth empowerment, electoral reform, gender inclusion, and full accountability, not just in words, but in action. Because democracy without young people is incomplete. Governance without inclusion is injustice. So when I speak not just for myself, but for the millions of young Nigerians who are ready to lead, ready to serve, and ready to build a country that works for everyone. It's time we stop asking for a seat at the table and start building our own. We are the present, we are the future, and our time is now. And this is why I welcome you to Politics Uncensored, where we tackle the tough topics, challenge the status quo, and uncover the hidden narratives that shape our world. On Politics Uncensored, we strip away the spin and get to the truth of Nigeria's political landscape. Our goal is to provide a platform for open and honest discussion where experts and everyday citizens can share their perspectives and insights. Of course, it's your favorite show, and we have two amazing guests who will be joining us soon. And of course, I've already told you before, my name is Okikiola Taiwo Jalukmo, a proud member of a new generation of leaders, young, bold, and unapologetically committed to redefining the future of governance in this great nation. And today, we're asking one big question. Is Nigeria's future secure in the hands of its youth? I want to hear from you. Every of our episodes is all about you, so be a part of the conversation every single day and add your voice to these discussions. Head onto our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, hit that subscribe button, like, and share the links for your friends and family to join the show now. Our phone lines are also open to you. Please call us on 070-2500-7749 and 070-1424-2420. Let's hear what you have to say. We'll go on a break right now and we'll return with our guests and take our top stories in the political space making the headlines. Please stay tuned. You are still watching Politics Uncensored, and today we'll be discussing Nigeria's future, young voices on politics and leaderships. With all of these that we have stated, it's obvious that this conversation has got to be had. Right now, we have our guests. As I said, our phone lines are still open to you. You can still call us on 070-2500-7749 or 070-1424-2420. From activism to governance, young Nigerians are no longer on the sidelines. They're speaking up, stepping in, and demanding accountability. Driving this conversation with me are two distinguished guests who are both informed and passionate about this conversation. I have Mohammed Abdullahi, who is a public affairs analyst known for his sharp commentary on governance, policy, and youth participation in Nigeria's democracy. We also have the wonderful barrister Olufunke Rekia Azan, who is the executive chairman of Onigbongbo LCDA, a seasoned grassroots leader who is shaping leadership at the local level and empowering youths in governance. Welcome, Rekia and Abdullahi.
Good afternoon, Nigerians. My pleasure.
Nice to have
Good
you here.
afternoon. It's my pleasure to be on.
It's so wonderful. I love this balance because most of the time when we're talking about youth in politics, it's either we're having just the male giving their own perspective or just the female giving their own perspective. So I like how we have a balance of gender here in that sense. But basically, I would want to hear Honorable Rekia's, maybe in 10 seconds, tell us what you think about young people in politics.
I think young people in politics are very passionate. They are willing to break barriers, break glass ceilings. The only thing I would say is a challenge for young people in politics is that we're not willing to really follow mentorship and learn from the elders' mistakes. I understand the frustrations we have. Like you mentioned earlier, a lot of these politicians are recycled politicians and they haven't really made much impact or much difference. So it's only natural to feel you don't have anything to learn from them. But there is some gain from understudying and learning. Apprenticeship and being a mentee goes a long way. That aside, I'm really, really proud of the new generation of politicians that are coming on board from the young people. We've changed the perspective. We've changed the outlook on politics. Before we used to think, oh, politics is the dirty game. No respectable or decent person should become a politician. But we have now realized that if you do not go into politics, if you don't go into those spaces, we cannot bring about the change we so desire. And that comes from the fearlessness and courage of the youths in politics now.
Check political stories that are trending on the news, and there's one here saying Ogun Commissioner seeks constitutional amendment to boost women representation. And I'm asking you this because, of course, you're a woman, and the Ogun State Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development, which is Moturayo Adele, has called for increased support for the proposed constitutional amendments seeking to enhance women's representation in political leadership across Nigeria. And Adele emphasized that the advancement of women in politics is no longer optional but a national necessity for inclusive governance and sustainable development. The commissioner spoke on Tuesday at the town hall meeting on advancing women's inclusion and representation in leadership and political processes in Nigeria, organized by the League of Women Voters of Nigeria at the Obas Complex, Okemoston, Abeokuta, the state capital. She lamented the rejection of all women-related bills during the Ninth National Assembly, describing it as a major setback to gender equity. Adele said no nation can flourish without women, and so as women, we must be encouraged to support one another, speak with one voice, and build bridges across political, social, and generational divide. I would love to know what you think about this story and how you are, in your own space, trying to advance women's inclusion in politics.
I love the fact that women in politics is becoming a topic that we're concentrating on, but there is a pitfall to that. We have to be very cautious in how we go along with that. We shouldn't make it seem like, okay, there are seats given to women out of tokenism. We need to understand that as women, we deserve those places as much as any man deserves those places. We need to be able to put forward that we are qualified. We're not getting those seats just because we're women. It will now look like they're doing us a favor and we're not equipped for those seats. No, we need to let them know that we are not only, we're very capable, we're as competent as our male counterparts. Where the bills should come from, what it should be focused on more, in my opinion, it should be focused on no discrimination. As a woman in a male-dominated industry, I've come to understand that the patriarchy is very, very strong in politics. Men have formed a boys' club, sort of. They are gatekeeping from women. So rather than seeking a pittance or, they're doing us a favor, by giving us seats or representation, I think women should band together to showcase our strengths, our capabilities, because women in politics, I've met some very strong women in politics. The present First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, when her Excellency Oluremi Tinubu, when she was senator, she's someone I really looked up to because there she was in the midst of men and she stood her ground. There are so many, you'd come to so many spaces. You see, in Lagos State here, we have Honorable Lara, Princess Lara, representing Lagos, and she stands her ground amongst men. So people need to understand that they're not doing women a favor by giving us space or by giving us seats. We do deserve those spaces. We have earned those places. So they're not doing us a favor. They are not pitying us. we need to stop the discrimination. Let women be considered on their strengths. There's this, I think it's our traditional values. People don't like to take instructions from women. It's women in leadership is something that's met with a lot of pushback. We need to be able to go past those orientations, that mindset, and understand that women can do. We're not supposed to be in the background. Some people believe a woman's only role should be deputizing or assisting. No, we can be at the helm of affairs, and we do very well at the helm of affairs.
Absolutely.
So we need to scrap out that mindset. We do very well when they're not doing us a favor by giving us seats. We need to push, let them see that we are very strong and we're very capable.
Thank you very much, Honorable. And that's one thing that I've also been advocating for. As a young person who is very passionate about politics, it's quite sad to see that women are usually met with a lot of setbacks when they are trying to lend their voice and be as equal parts as their men folks. But moving away from that, this is to Abdullah, who has joined us also. One story here is saying Nigeria now ruled by civilian dictators, says Dele Mohammed. And in that story, he says a two-term presidential aspirant and chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, Dele Mohammed, has raised alarm that Nigeria's democracy is in danger. Mohammed said the country is going back to its civilian dictatorship. He stated that when he featured on Channels Television's The Morning Brief on Wednesday, he added that the situation is especially sad as the country prepares to mark Democracy Day. He stated, "I'm very happy that today coincides with the lead up to June 12 Democracy Day, so that if we still have any iota of conscience left, we'll realize we have damaged democracy." The summary of it all is that on the eve of June 12, Nigeria is virtually back to civilian dictators who don't care how you feel or what you think. Nigerians are hungry. Mamadou blamed both elected officials and government institutions for ignoring the people, saying the leaders are bold and shameless in how they treat Nigeria. And he said, "We've damaged this democracy, and I hope we've not damaged it beyond repair, because the audacity, the effrontery of this set of politicians, whether in the executive, legislature, or local government, is totally unbelievable." And the funny thing here is that he has pointed straight at a particular person, saying that on the crisis within the PDP, Mamadou blamed the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, UNCENSORED, for taking over the party and causing chaos. And this is where I ask Mr. Abdullah, do you completely agree with Dele Mohammed at this point that UNCENSORED has damaged the party structure of the PDP and caused chaos in the country?
Thank you very much. To start with, actually, I would say the word dictatorship, as used by the ACE publisher, Dele Mohammed, is very subjective. And why do I say so? Many people think dictatorship is just associated with the military personnel. I mean, forcefully taking power. It's not entirely true. Dictatorship, in the sense that he's using now, is that perhaps the current administration, the way some critics see it, are actually not listening or understanding the plight of not only the young people, but generally Nigerians all over the country. So that is one. But in agreeing or disagreeing with the statement of Wike being, in control of the PDP, is actually laughable, because even though I am very much not a party, not of any card-carrying member, I am not a card-carrying member of any party, but from history and from happenings, it's shocking that one man who is neither the chairman of the political party nor, any big-time stalwart of the party as it is today, he is just a former governor of the party, and a member of the party just like any other PDP member. And then definitely he is a current minister in the APC government. He's been allowed to control and, dictate, like he said, like you narrated, dictate the affairs of the party. It's shocking. You understand? Yes, we came at the very powerful. But before him, there have been so many powerful people, perhaps who perhaps who are PDP members or even other political party members. But how is it that he is being allowed to control the party that is supposed to be the main opposition party? Because for the fact that he is part of a party, also he is part of the government of an opposition party to his own party, is clear enough for him to be booted out of the party. If it is not an agreement by the party to say we want to join or we want to form a government of national unity, just like late President Yaradua did during his short spell. You understand? If his party, PDP, did not agree to the terms that, okay, some of our members are allowed to join this government, and he was appointed as a minister more than 2 years or almost 2 years ago now, and they allow him to still be in control of the party, dictate what happens in the party, then it means the party is very unserious, seriously. And we can see what is happening. PDP is supposed to be the major opposition party, but what we have now, Labour Party has taken over. People take Labour Party, even with the crisis, with the internal crisis in Labour Party, people take Labour Party more serious than PDP because it seems not to find their bearing. You know, like rightly mentioned, Wike is part of this current government and is still controlling the opposition. So it's quite laughable, and I see that PDP is really unserious for allowing that to happen.
Those are very strong statements, and I can't speak for any party right now at this sense, but you have given your insights as a political analyst in this sense, and I hope the people that are watching are also taking cue from what you have said. So we'll take a quick break right now, and then we'll return with our hot topic for today. Please stay tuned.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Thank you for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, we are analyzing Nigeria's future, and we're talking about young voices on politics and leadership. Let's begin with the mood of the nation. Young Nigerians make up over 60% of the population, but do they feel heard or seen in leadership? And this is where I will ask Abdullah at this point. Would you say young Nigerians today are politically engaged or politically fatigued?
It's a very dicey question, but I will attempt to answer the question this way. With the advent of this administration, let me start from the top. We've seen so many young people, you know, at the helms of strategic agencies and even ministries. I'm so happy that Madam Reki, I live in Lagos. I'm a Lagosian, so even though I'm speaking from Niger State at the moment. But I'm happy that we have young people who are given the position of power, even for being a woman. You understand? I quite agree that we are not just giving women these opportunities because they are women. They are very much qualified. She made mention of Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who was once, I think, a 2-time senator, if I'm not mistaken, or even 3-time. So it's quite laudable from, I mean, what the government is doing. I know the Minister of Youth, who is less than 45. So many ministers and even, you know, people in that corridor of power that are within the bracket of what we can term or call the youth age. But I think, in my own opinion also, it's just beyond the fact that someone is of that youth age bracket and then opportunity should come knocking. No, he or she must be qualified. He or she must be seen to be capable to deliver. And these are important prerequisites or important requirements that I feel we need to look at first before we say, because you just can't call someone who perhaps is 25 years old to say, because you are within the youth bracket age, come and become a minister when you have nothing to deliver. I don't think that is right.
Absolutely.
So what I really push forward first is, are you capable? Is this he or she capable? Is very, very much. We need to understand. But on a general outlook, I think we need to do more as a nation, because let's be very in ourselves. Like I said, I'm speaking from Niger State. If you look at the northern landscape, for instance, because of lack of unemployment, we've had spike in insecurity, and this is largely dominated by the youth age. People who are supposed to be in school, people who are supposed to be in one trade or the other, are engaged in banditry, are engaged in kidnappings, and so on and so on. If you look at the Southwest, for instance, yes, we might be running away from this, but you look at the Yahoo syndrome. You look at the syndrome of things like destabilization, things like crime. And these things are really dominated by the youth age. Yes, we know some are perhaps due to parental failure and so on and so forth, but government need to do more. You understand? In fact, even punishing parents that refuses to send their wards to school. I must commend the president, for instance. Let me not digress, but I must commend the president, for instance. Recently, I read that from the Ministry of Education that technical colleges will be free or have become even free for attendees, and again, students will even be paid a stipend for attending, because all we focus on is just certificates. But I tell you, if we train our youth in such a way in these technical colleges, we make them very much valuable for the society and for even themselves. So I think on a general landscape, I think we are not doing badly, but we can do more for our youth as a country. Because not everybody will go into politics, please. Yes. For instance, we have less than perhaps even 100,000 offices to be occupied across the country. If we have even up to that, somebody will become an SA to the governor or even an SA to the local government chairman. But if we have these opportunities for our youth, that they can go and learn a trade, go to school, and then become something for themselves and their family, and then impact the society positively.
Thank you very much. I like how you have highlighted different states and their need in particular. You have also spoken about the need for education, orientation in that sense, and even, vocational issues being addressed. A lot of people don't have handiwork in that sense, if we're really looking at it. And some people will even do, because they find no either fund to tap into or maybe opportunities for them to thrive, they sort of use this for, bad things and illicit things. We have some of our youths who are tech savvy, but because of the way the country is being run, it's almost like being tech savvy is not going to give you the life that you need in that sense by contributing to the nation. Rather, people going through Yahoo, as you have mentioned, and that is quite sad. And I hope that moving forward, just like you have commended the president, he will take these things into action, like the technical college, which you have mentioned that he has made free for people to attend. And then taking it to the grassroots at this point, Honorable Rekia, someone in grassroots leadership, do you feel that young people are ready for leadership? I've heard a lot of people say that young people are not ready, we just know how to talk, Twitter fingers, social media activists and all of that sense. Do you think that young people are ready for leadership, or are we still dealing with a knowledge or experience gap?
I definitely think young people are ready for leadership, but like I mentioned earlier, there is a learning curve. I mean, when you join a law firm, no matter how hot you were in university or in whatever law school you went to, you came out to the first class, you still have to join a law firm and go up the ladder. There's a learning curve. And I think we're just a tad too impatient to go through that learning curve. It's not easy to jump in the middle of the water and learn how to swim immediately. So young people are ready. I think we should open more spaces for them, not necessarily at the top helms of affairs, because like the other speaker mentioned correctly, it shouldn't be just about their age. It should be also about competency and capabilities. And the truth is, being in politics and places of leadership is totally different in actual practice than when you are thinking about it, you are dreaming about it, you are reading about it. No matter how many biographies you read, it never actually prepares you for the reality of the sacrifices you need to make in leadership, the compromises you need to make in leadership, the pain and the hurts you have to go through in leadership, the challenges. So it's best, I know when people just jump into politics or whatever role of leadership and you meet these challenges, you come across these barriers, it's easy to become discouraged. That's why you hear people say, I knew this person before they got into such and such and such role. They were good, they were competent. I don't know what happened to this person. What happened to the person is the reality of the role and the position they entered into. That's what happened to the person. So instead of jumping, I want to go from not having any experience, not engaging my community, not even taking up political classes, I want to be a senator, I want to be a House of Assembly member immediately. Instead of doing that, why don't we prepare ourselves? You learn more skills. Mentally, I think we're very prepared. Emotionally, I think we're prepared, but we just need more experience. Go into those spaces. We're very prepared to go into those spaces. And the truth is, those spaces are not going to open up to us automatically. So we must be prepared to meet with those obstacles and surmount them. Not go, we meet the obstacles, we come back, we cry and we complain, and then, as that's why people say Twitter activism, they're not ready, because we're not actually prepared. We haven't had people that will actually tell them the truth about what it entails. It's not kumbaya, it's not let's go gung-ho, guns blazing, you go and fight, you go and shout on social media. It's leadership, politics, and it's not really about confrontation. Confrontation can only get you so far. You have to learn the art of negotiation. You have to learn the art of compromise. There's so much to learn. I don't even think even the people who have been in politics for 30, 40 years have finished learning. It's an ongoing process. You just have to make up your mind that, you know what, once I get into it, I put my foot in it and there's no turning back. You need a strong support system. Because even me sitting here, I've thought about quitting several times. But, I have a support system that's very encouraging, and, you cannot stop. You will continue. You cannot stop. Sometimes I say I'm not doing it again. I'll sit home for a day or so. And then there are people that are more, carry your bag, I'm going to work. You need those kind of things. You need encouragement. You cannot do it alone. You should stop thinking we're an island, we'll fight this person. It's not. We just need to change our tactics, our approach, and be open to experiencing what these older people have experienced, even though we think they're not getting it right.
Thank you very much. I like that in your statement you have mentioned words of encouragement while highlighting some of the problems that youth face in that sense, how we want to jump the gun if we really look at it. And when a lot of places that I've seen, they've said you have to take power from up in order to control people in the grassroots or below you in that sense. What you have mentioned, how important is it for you to start from ground up, but it's almost like even at the local government level it's a far reach for young people. So if I was going to ask you what young people, or what can be done at the local government level to make, political entry points more accessible to youth, especially young women. And this is me speaking for myself in that sense. In 2019, I ran for the State House of Assembly election in my local government for the first time. And while a lot of people said that it was a far reach, I've never been in politics, so I came third in that election. And in 2021, I ran again for the councillor of my ward. It was a close win, but of course, I lost that election. But it almost seems that even after that, it's hard to lay your hands upon, being part of that system and growing from that point. So this is why I'm still asking, what can be done at the local government level to make, political entry points more accessible for youths and, young women?
Okay, for young women in particular and youths, especially youths like you that are coming from the middle class demography rather, the truth is most people at the grassroots level, they are not in the middle class. So there's an automatic resistance to you because you are not like us. In those cases, you have to gradually make yourself known. You have to find ways to affect your community around you because those are the ones that begin to speak for you. If you can volunteer your time or your resources in any way to do something around in your community, that's the way you begin to introduce yourself to them bit by bit. They have to know that you are there to serve and they can trust you. The truth is either you have a copious amount of money to jump in the middle of policy. Amir, by the way, kudos to you. I'm really, really proud to hear that you ran for office in 2019 and you were a close third. That's a good thing. That's very commendable and very impressive.
Thank you, ma'am.
You make yourself known to your community if you don't have millions to spend, because the truth is elections are expensive anywhere in the world.
I completely agree.
You cannot deny that. Anywhere in the world, elections cost a whole lot of money. Now, if you don't have that whole lot of money to spend, you should have your time to spend. Whatever political party you join, try and engage them at the ward level. Make yourself known. And a lot of mistakes we also make is, if elections are February 2023, we will now wake up in December of 2022 and say we're running for office. It doesn't work like that. You need to put in, even the people who have been there for years, they start working towards an election 2-3 years before the election. You have to lay that groundwork. Get yourself known in your community. Do what you can do to assist and help your community, because that's what they're looking for in a leader, someone who has put into the community. That's when people begin to trust you and they begin to look up to you. And once you've gotten that base, because politics is about numbers, once you've gotten that base, that followership, there's no way you will not be noticed in spaces above. And then the people who are gatekeeping, quote and unquote, will look at you, okay, this is somebody that has a followership. She has an influence. She will be of use to us, because the truth is, when you break it down, politics is about numbers. And if you cannot prove to them that you have those numbers, and not those numbers in a form of anarchy, those numbers in a form that, okay, they will help the party, they will help the ideology of the people you're associating with, you'll be let into those spaces.
I get you. Thank you very much, Ma. I'm going to take a cue from what you have said and really apply it, because I'm also still looking forward, to run in future. But, you mentioned something about we have to be non-confrontational in that sense, or everything is not about confrontation. But I would like Abdullah to answer at this point. If we're talking about confrontation, it's almost like most Nigerians look at protests as the first line of action. And if you remember, one of the major protests was the UNCESORED movement as at the point. So how do you interpret the energy we saw during the UNCESORED movement, and how has it translated to, political involvement from 2020 up until now?
In the life of every nation, we take a cue from the Western world. I mean, every developed country in this world, there was a time where perhaps, even if not full-blown revolution, there was a time that at least conflict played a major role. I mean, in their advancement, in their development, in their consciousness as a country or as a nation. But for me as a person, I don't think Nigeria's case should follow suit. I mean, we really do not have any necessary or serious cause for conflicts here and there. In fact, what we have that we are fighting, I mean, in country, whether it's Boko Haram, whether it's kidnapping, and so on and so forth. These crimes are actually enough to unite us as a country, seriously. So we do not necessarily need any more fighting, revolution, protest, violent protest now. Protest, I mean, peaceful protest, registering our own, as a people, registering grievances for the government to take note of is even allowed in the Constitution. But when it turns, when it turns violent, that is what is not good for whether the people and even the country as a whole. So to answer your question directly, yes, I think the EndSARS protest was like a major turning point because I was in Lagos at that moment. I understood, in fact, aside lives that cannot be, I mean, cannot be priced, that were lost in Lagos and so many other places around Nigeria. The quantum of properties, I mean, that were lost is unimaginable. You understand? I understand that even up until this moment, there are people who lost a whole lot that are unable to stand on their 2 feet today because of the EndSARS protest. And that's what violent protest causes. You understand? So I think the EndSARS protest, yes, perhaps in some quarters, please quote me, in some quarters, it may be justifiable because what the youth then were protesting against is not the government per se. It was police brutality. You mean, you know, as a young man, you can't drive a good car in Lagos, you can't be on a particular kind of clothes, you are automatically tagged, you know, someone who profits from crime and so on and so forth. So, absolutely, you know, the challenges from police brutality was becoming so much for the youth to bear, and that gave back to that protest. And I can tell you, it's been able, since that protest, even though not totally eradicated, but we've been able to like curtail to some certain extent, you understand, police brutality. You know, people don't want to, even the police themselves, I'm very sure, do not want to find themselves in a position where they have to quell such organized protests that turned violent. I'm very sure no policeman in this country will want to experience that because that's quite enormous and challenging, you know. So, but be that as it may, I think it's not a path that we should take. I so much believe in dialogue. I so much believe in other peaceful avenues or peaceful tools to register our grievances. For instance, one of the major things I feel to add to what Honorable Rekia has mentioned is even the youth themselves, ourselves, are not so much interested in politics. Seriously, if you put together 10 Nigerian youths between the age of maybe 20 to 30, and you ask them about the electioneering process in Nigeria, I bet you that less than 2 might be able to tell you anything very much tangible concerning the electioneering process. Very many who do not have the voters card, they are not interested. They don't even know the name of their councillor. They don't know the name of their local government chairman. They are just there. People are not interested. But what we are so much interested in is complaining and criticizing. No, it's good. It is good, but we must play our part as youth. We must be very much interested in the affairs of our country. Not necessarily standing for an election, but being part of the process in electing and selecting our leaders. Being part of the process of understanding what it means to have a particular leader in charge of the country is very much important because it's disheartening that, for instance, the last election of a country of more than 200 million people, like we keep saying, we have less than 30 million voting in the leaders. That's for me is even very poor. If you put together the amount of votes for the 3 heavyweight political parties, PDP, APC, and Labour Party in the presidential election, it was less than 30 million. It is poor because very many people and the youth make a larger percentage of this population. Like you rightly said, more than 60%. Very many of us are not interested. You know, we are not interested in the process. And then the very few that are interested, when they elect these leaders, we begin to complain. So I think we must do better as youth. We must, first of all, I think the major ingredient for us is to even show interest in this process in terms of the electioneering process. And then from there, we begin to get it right.
It's almost like you have mentioned how youth activism has become a thing, and then you've mentioned how young people should also be involved in politics. I've always said that, just like you also mentioned, that not everyone can run, but there are different phases in politics that people can join, to lend their voice in that sense. But it's almost like we have, would I say, a few political parties who get to the ballot boxes every election year, and some youths have still found it hard to transfer their youth activism into formal political structures. Even for meetings, that doesn't happen. So why do you think this has happened, or why do you think this is happening in your own viewpoint?
First and foremost, I think it's because of the cost involved generally. Like the Honorable Chairwoman mentioned, it's quite expensive to run anywhere in the world. It's quite expensive to get into politics. And again, you can't just jump in from nowhere and say, even if it's local government chairmanship, and says you want to contest or you want to become the next local government chairman or chairperson without putting in the work. For every job, whether you want to even become, for instance, a journalist, you must go to school. Those are the processes. Perhaps you go to the Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Those are the processes, and so on and so forth. So it's the same thing with politics. Perhaps there is no particular school that you go to learn, but you can get a mentor. You can begin to follow in the footstep of a particular mentor, someone that you feel you share the same ideals with, someone that you feel you can learn from, someone that you feel you understand and like his or her leadership style. You understand? Then you can begin to learn from that particular person and grow up the ladder. But what we see is that people just want to jump into the process of saying, I want to even contest for the president of Nigeria directly. I want to become the next senator directly. No, there must be a process. And in as much as the youth are really unwilling to follow this process, politics becomes a lot more challenging because it's expensive. How many Nigerian youth, even if you are from the middle class today, how many Nigerian youth have at least the wherewithal of perhaps a 30, 40, or even 50, or even 100 million stashed somewhere to pour into the electionary process? There are very few of them, you understand? But perhaps if you follow this footstep of a mentor, someone who is guiding you, someone who feel, okay, you have the right leadership skill, you can even be sponsored. Yes, there are so many examples out there, you understand? People who do not have the money to contest, you understand? But because of their antecedent, what they've been able to do, perhaps when they were given a portfolio or an appointment before, what they're able to deliver, parties, stalwart, pull together their resources and then sponsor such candidates because they so much believe in what that candidate can deliver. So I think this is one area we need to take into cognizance. And again, most importantly, politics is unlike all other professions. Seriously, perhaps even when you go to school, yes, you can learn and unlearn and become perhaps a professional at a certain age. But in terms of politics, because politics is universal, but there is a kind of peculiarity to a certain demography. What is obtainable in Nigeria, even though we practice the same democracy, even with the US that practices presidential system of government, even though we practice the same system of government, but the peculiarities in Nigeria is quite different from the US. You understand?
Yes.
So because of these different we must learn, and there is need for us to get involved and learn before we're able to execute properly.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. We'll take a breather right now, and then we return, discussing more how young voices can partake in leadership and politics. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. You're still watching Politics Uncensored, and we have Honorable Rekia here and Abdullahi Mohammed, who has been giving us great insights on how young people, can lend their voices in terms of politics and leadership. At this point, I would also like to ask Honorable Rekia, at this point, what barriers, either institutional or psychological, are stopping youths from contesting? And I want you to come from the angle of your own story, how you started and got into politics up until becoming the executive chairman of Onigbongo LCDA.
First of all, you think you cannot. You are incapable. In 2019, I was speaking to, prior to the 2019 elections, rather, I was speaking to the late Honorable Adirele. So she asked me, said, "Oh, what are you contesting for?" And my response was like, "Me, contest." No, they did not ask me to contest for anything, no. And she looked at me and she said, "You do not wait for them to offer you something. Make sure you go and ask. Ask for what you don't think you deserve." And see that statement? And that's like what Alhaji Abdullahi said. You need to have a mentor. She was not a mentor to me per se, but she was someone I had conversations with. And that particular statement shaped my whole approach. I think her statement is part of what has brought me to this position I am today, because that advice, I took it. I stopped waiting to be offered. I stopped waiting for other people to feel I deserved. I looked at what I thought I was capable of, and I reached for it. So after I had that conversation with her, then I now went to my leadership in my local government. I want to do House of Rep. I want to contest for House of Rep. When people laughed at me, then I laughed at myself, because even when I was saying I want to contest for House of Rep, then I didn't believe totally that I could get it. But along the way, somebody has said I should reach for something, and that's how you start. And along the way, it gathered momentum, and I got attention. But before I could actually go to buy the form and everything, my leadership had said, "Sit down." Even I was a bit relieved when they told me to sit down, because I was a bit worried. I was like, what am I doing? I didn't quite know what I was doing, but it had gathered momentum from a notion. So I started believing that I could, and I started believing that, okay, you know what? I'm just as good as every other person that's here. I would measure. I can do that. I might not have 100 million. I might not have 100 billion. When I contested for the role of chairman in 2021, I know how much we spent on the election process. And I can safely say that 80% of the money that was spent on election processes were not mine. I had friends that put up a GoFundMe. I had people that, came together, helped me with this amount, that amount. So the first thing that our challenge is our mindset. We need to believe, if you need to believe yourself before other people can believe in you. Another challenge for people, again, is that they think, elections are so expensive, I cannot afford to contest. That's a lot of money. Start it. If you've done so well, if you have influenced your circle and you've made that name for yourself, and like Alhaji Abdullahi said, you have gone ahead, you've been somebody's mentee, people would give you the resources, they would assist you. So we should stop worrying about whether we're good enough, we should stop worrying about whether we have enough money. And then another thing is that we also create these mental strong men. Is this person's son that's there? Or this person has interest in it. I can never get it because this person is associated or attached to this person. That's another place where we defeat ourselves before we start. It doesn't matter. You start. You go into it. If you don't do it at all, you are lost from the beginning. You've lost from the onset. So go ahead. Doesn't matter whose son, who knows who. You will get to know other people. You will get to know. People ask me if my parents were politicians. Is your mother a politician? No, my mother. But in my walk, in my journey, I have met people. I have met amazing people. I've come across amazing people who have solidly stood behind me. I'm the daughter of a nobody that became somebody in politics. That's the truth. So I feel if I can do it, anybody can do it. Anybody can. I was not a billionaire. I did not have millions to spend. But I was able to get to where I am today. You need to trust your process. I know how many times I've attempted to contest for an election. I contested for the seat of chairman in 2021. I didn't get it. The other things I've attempted to do, okay, I've attempted to get appointments, and at the end of the day, they say no. You just have to just trust your process. Another thing I must say is that you cannot be in politics without holding strongly to your God. Now, it's up to you to decide what your God will be, but you need to hold strongly to your God. Because leadership is spiritual, like it or not. It's a spiritual thing. So that's why you hear that some people went to bury a goat in the middle of the night. Or, they're adopting people for power. Power is spiritual. Hold on to your God steadfastly. Like I said, whatever you decide your God is, that's up to you. Hold on to your God steadfast if you want to go far in politics. You need to hold on. And at that point, be like Velcro. Let it be like a Velcro staff with you and your God. That way, there's some things that happen. Because you would be very surprised. We think we're in the 21st century. You'd be very surprised that, there's airboy in front of somebody's door. All those things still happen. Even in the city. We're in Lagos State, so only going to go a metropolitan community, but you still see people coming at you with fetish things. It's part of the day. They'll drop things in your office and they'll drop things in front of your door.
Yes, we would be wrapping up very soon, but I want to quickly ask your advice to young Nigerians interested in contesting in 2027 or taking public office. And I would like that when you're done answering, Abdullah can quickly give us maybe 10, 20 seconds wrapping shot also.
Okay, my advice to anybody that wants to contest, start today. Start now. That's the best. Start now. Start going into your community now. Start now. Start your work now.
Thank you very much. Abdullah, can I hear from you also?
Yes, I think, start now, like the Honorable has said. Start now, be focused, know what you want and go for it. And lastly, I would say, don't allow a single or even failures define you. Because don't say because you want to contest now, you must win. And if you don't win, you are now quitting. No. If it takes you, look at even the former president, President Buhari contested 4 times before he got into office. You understand? So you just keep trying. If you believe in your ideas and your goals, you will eventually get it.
Okay, just to pick your brain quickly, 2027 youth president, is that a fantasy or a real possibility?
No, you want, let me allow Madam Olufinke to. I know
Okay,
the APCs will definitely
want
want
to answer fantasy or real possibility, a youth president for 2027.
Let him come out and start now. We haven't seen, so we cannot talk yet. Let him come out and start now.
Thank you.
Let's
so
Abdullah,
can you give us an answer also?
I know. It's a very challenging one. Yes, I have not seen any youth president that is. There's
none.
There's almost none. So, hopefully, or it's 2 years to the next election, or even less. So, hopefully.
Okay, another quick brainer: Godfatherism, should it be abolished or still remain? With all of the things that Honorable Rekia has said about mentoring, it could be translated to godfatherism or godmotherism in that sense. So do you think that those things should stay or be abolished?
I think it's a very challenging one because that is the peculiarity that I talk about in our own kind of politics. You understand? In this part of the world, it's something that we cannot do away with. But what we pray for is that we have a godfather or godmother that will think positively about the nation and not just their own selfish interest.
Okay, what about you, Honorable Rekia?
No, and yes. Everything has a good and bad side to it. It depends on how you use it, how you apply it. Mentorship is perfect. It is great. I mean, see all the people that Asiwaju himself, the president, had mentored and have brought up to be good and great politicians today. A lot of us in APC would not be where we are today without his leadership and his mentorship. Every tool can be misused. It just depends on how we apply it. So I would not say you should abolish mentorship. I won't be where I am today without mentorship. So it's very necessary. It cannot be abolished, but we should also understand how to use it in the proper way.
Well, thank you very much for joining me in this conversation, Honorable Rekia. It was beautiful to have you. And also, Abdullah, thank you so much for lending your voice and giving in very insightful and very practical contribution to this conversation. I appreciate you. I hope to have you sometime again. Probably the case where I've become, an elected official in that point, and I can take advice from both of you as my mentors in that sense. And this is where we wrap up the show. And to be honest, my unfiltered opinion is Nigeria doesn't need more empty promises. At this point, we need to get things working. What we need is leadership with purpose, with vision, and with courage. And that's what young Nigerians, I believe, are bringing to the table. And I also want us to also see that we are not a threat to the system. We are the upgrade the system desperately needs. And as the polyhumanitarian, I will continue to speak truth, amplify voices, and push for a Nigeria where youth empowerment, gender inclusion, electoral justice, and accountability are not just slogans, but realities. I believe that the future isn't tomorrow. It's already knocking, and we are the ones answering. Thank you for listening. Thank you for engaging, and thank you for believing not just in me, but in a generation that refuses to settle for less. And Nigeria belongs to all of us, and together we will reclaim it. Before I go, do ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow us on all our social media handles. And remember, this conversation will always be about you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.